Welcome to Spill the Sustainability,
the podcast where we spill the tea on the hottest
and most controversial topics in the industry over a cup of tea. What are you drinking today?
I am drinking hot water, as always, and a decaf coffee, because I already had a coffee, and I want to be able to sleep tonight.
Absolutely valid.
How about you?
I've got a hot water, just a classic little hot water, and then a coconut water, because it's actually my favourite drink. Like, my favourite cold drink is a coconut water. I love it.
I hate coconut water.
Really? Oh, I love it so much.
Yeah, I just don't vibe. But that is just maybe a bit of me, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so this episode, highly requested by Rosie herself.
I'm really excited to talk about this. I've got so much to say. Izzy was literally like to me, shut up and save it for the episode.
Literally before I was like, stop talking because we need to do this in the episode. We are talking about
Katy Perry going to space.
Da, 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 da. When I told my partner that we were doing this episode, he just sent me a gif of Katy Perry kissing the floor.
She's crazy.
But then also, there was like 6 of them.
Yeah, to be fair, and a couple of them were actual, like, astronauts.
Yeah, 2 of them were. Like, one was an engineer, one was an astronaut.
I mean, you couldn't go to space, really, without an engineer and astronaut, could
On
you?
board. I mean, you'd be pretty stupid too. I just don't even know what to say.
I just think it's crazy. Like, I was saying to Izzy earlier, like, the choice to do that right now, and in this current political, social, financial, environmental, like, every single thing, the choice to do that now is just, like, absolutely mind-boggling to me.
Do you think they did it, though, as, like, a point? Do you think they chose this point in time to make a point?
I think they're just out of touch, because there's, like, a video of them, and it's, like, a feminist thing, isn't it? It's meant to, like, show, like, you know, women can go to space too, we can do it too, you know, space is for everyone.
Do you know what I thought was really funny was when the Kardashians were there at the space launch, and they were there like, we're here to support women, and they were talking about how emotional it was, and I was like, what are you talking about? I'm
crazy.
So confused.
It's so emotional seeing people go to space for the first time. Yeah. To be fair, I feel like the Kardashians were probably so mad that they went on that spaceship.
They got offered.
Oh, wow. I wonder why they didn't go.
Point, because they thought it was not safe, which...
I was kind of hoping for another, like, billionaire submarine disaster, but in space, I'm not gonna lie.
It was giving that. It really was giving that. It was giving that.
I don't know. In my humble opinion, I don't think really anybody other than, like, astronauts and scientists really have any business going to space. Like, why?
I agree. No,
just, like, what for what?
I totally agree. I mean, the whole idea of space tourism
is really odd.
Like, it just is mind-boggling to me. Like, there's so many beautiful places on this planet that are untouched and should stay untouched in general, but there are, like, so many beautiful places here. You don't need to go to space to, like, see that.
Yeah, my conspiracy brain was, like, telling me they're gearing up for when our, like, planet burns and it's inhospitable, so they're trying to, like, make a, you know...
But there have been so many films about that.
I know.
Like,
I feel like it could happen, though. What's
that film with Michael? No.
Oh, the one where they...
Matthew McConaughey. Yes.
Do you mean Interstellar?
I mean Interstellar. Because I actually personally really liked that film, but I've
not watched it.
A bit of a space freak. But the whole thing about that was because we had exhausted resources on our planet, and they had to go and find somewhere else to live, and they ended up creating their own planet.
Wow.
In space.
My main takeaway is Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
I freaking love him. It's like one of my biggest celebrity crushes. So I adore him, so I will watch that. Also, that sounds like a really interesting concept.
It's really interesting, and, like, the science side of it is obviously, like, incorrect, but also to me fascinating. Another great space film, The Martian.
Haven't watched that.
Personally,
you're into space.
Oh, I wanted to do astrophysics at uni before I did chemistry.
Okay.
So
you've got a space cadet over here.
Like, my dream was to do astrophysics and just to, like, I don't know, I just found space really fascinating, and conceptually, I'm not going to go into it because, one, I don't fully understand it, and two, it's wildly complicated. It's like the physics of time and stuff like that, which is all related to, like, space travel and other planets and things like that. It's just really, I found that really interesting. But I do like space. So when people are like, oh, I just don't see the point of, like, going to space or, like, putting money into, like, space exploration. Part of me was like, yeah, I agree, but the other part of me was like,
but I get it for like, you know, for people who like, I understand needing to go up there for science, I guess. I'm not really sure like what the science they do up there is, but it sounds interesting and I'm sure it's important, and like I get wanting to explore new things. I don't understand the tourism side at all. Also, like, maybe it's just me, but I just like, I don't really like flying massively, and I can't imagine anything worse than going in a rocket into space.
I mean,
Apparently Katy Perry was singing.
Yeah, she sung It's a Wonderful Life.
I thought she'd sing...
no, It's a Wonderful World.
I thought she'd choose to sing, Do You Ever Feel Like a Plastic Bag? Because I feel like that's so fitting.
Cut to a plastic bag.
Yeah,
flying through the air.
sky.
Oh my god, that's so funny. No, I think space tourism is honestly so stupid.
Yeah, also... I'll put the correct stat in the thingy. 60% of the sea remains unexplored.
I mean, do you know what? I think extreme tourism is just a bit silly.
Yeah. Oh my god, sorry. This just reminds me of this thing that I read, and it's actually true. I'm gonna link this, guys, because this is really crazy. So, extreme tourism. There's like this article that was recently posted, and it's about this guy who like is obsessed with extreme tourism, and he doesn't like going on holiday unless it's like really extreme. So his most recent holiday, he went to
Is this the guy that goes to war-torn countries and stuff?
yeah. But he doesn't just go there, he like gets on Grindr and them, and his most recent one, he had like a romance with a Taliban member. And he said like he's got no interest in going on holiday unless it's like really extreme. So I guess it's for people like that.
But that's just like, I feel like humans have this stupid ability and want to just be better than they actually are.
Yeah.
Like to push themselves beyond our like human ability. There's like, we have got a maximum ability, and when you start to push that, you have submarines imploding and you have spaceships that probably shouldn't be going to space.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, we have a limit as humans, and I also think it's a bit of karma of the planet being like, I don't believe in like voodoo things, but I do feel like it's a bit of karma being like, you're not welcome here.
Yeah.
Like, just go back to where you belong, which is on the ground.
Yeah.
And also, like, part of the reason that, you know, only 60% of the ocean, whatever it is not explored, is literally because the pressure and the temperatures is so high. Like, it's so, like, it's impossible to get there as a human without like physically hurting your physiology, you know. So I just think stuff like that is stupid. Like, why do we feel the need as humans to like do all these things to prove what?
Yeah, just be satisfied with what we have. I think, yeah, I mean, it comes down to also, I think, why we're like destroying the planet so much, because there's never satisfied, never satiated, like in the biblical sense, like Eve bit that apple and we buy Sheen. You know?
Yeah, like never happy.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I just think it's really disrespectful of what we have on our doorstep to be doing these extreme things. I just don't get it. Also, tourism, like the space tourism, the amount of CO2 emissions that must be predicted from that.
I'm terrified.
It's crazy, because to actually launch a rocket is intensive.
Yeah.
It's not a joke.
I think I saw a stat, and I'll link this or not link this, because I feel like I need to be careful with this episode, especially with like facts, but something to do with like the amount of like negative emissions that just one of those people who went to space like produced was like more than some countries do in a year.
I didn't look for this stat, but if that is the case, I mean, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, I did do some sciencey research, and so SpaceX is another one of these billionaire founded space organizations, which is actually Elon Musk's space organization. So big bin. And there were some scientists looking at like the CO2 emissions related to a launch of the rocket. Yeah. And they found that in, I think it said 2021 launch, that the rocket released 116 tons of CO2 in 2.75 minutes.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's like what, 116,000 or something kg if we did the conversion. in 2.75
Yeah, that's
minutes. You know,
that's insane.
like that's just the launch.
Yeah, let alone what else, like the rest of the journey.
But also, we always forget this. Like, what about making it?
Yeah, that's so true.
Like, we never think about what's actually in these things to make.
That's so true. I never consider like actually what. Yeah, because it's probably got all these horrible.
Well, it'd be like
metals
metal based, and like, okay, that's mining. Mining's really bad for the environment. It's really like obviously devastating to wildlife and habitat. But also just the amount of CO2 emissions to create that.
Yeah. I'd like to actually, I mean, I'm probably not going to understand the engineering of building a rocket. But I'd be interested to see the stats for that.
I mean, I don't know if, I wonder if they've done it.
Probably.
It's quite hard to track, I imagine.
I mean, both of these places are owned by like some of the richest men in the entire world.
Yes.
So I feel like it's likely that a lot of the information is probably hidden.
It's just, in some ways to me, it's fascinating, like why these weirdos out there trying to do these space things.
I just find it so funny because like, I just hate these like rich men. Like why do you need more? You've got basically more money than, well, you've got literally more money than anybody in the entire world, and you can't even stop there. Like you have to like destroy the planet more by just going on like what for them is just like why not, like I just fancy space. Like it's just crazy.
It's because they can.
A weekend trip for them.
No, it's a 10-minute trip for them.
Yeah, and the amount of money that it costs is not even like that. We're looking at the amount of cost to reserve a seat, and I can't say that number.
$150,000 just to reserve a seat on the Blue Origin space thing, which is Jeff Bezos's space.
So that's
program.
more money than most, like pretty much everybody will see in their entire life.
Not entire life.
For the whole of the world.
Oh, for the whole of the world, yeah. I mean, I was just thinking about like, you know, UK salary. Some top people are earning like 100k a year.
But like generally, I guess
An
like,
NHS doctor earns £90,000 a year
okay.
when they are like top end NHS doctors.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but like in general, like if we look at like the whole, like, you know, the entire world, because this kind of thing does affect every single person.
That's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah, that's like that's pocket change.
And that's the way. Sorry, I just like to say that's the deposit.
Yeah, that's not the full price.
That's not even the full price. That is literally just a deposit.
Which makes me wonder, like, does that mean Katy Perry paid that much money?
No, it was a PR stint.
You think she went for free?
100%.
Do you think she actually did?
She's not paying for that because they haven't done it before. It was their first flight.
Gosh, that's insane.
100% was a PR stint. That's why she was kissing the ground when she came down.
Didn't it just fall?
That's what they do though.
They always just fall.
Yeah, there's no other way down because.
So so it's basically just like just throwing a ball and waiting in the sky and it then falls.
So the way rockets tend to work is that you have the bottom bit, which is where the engine is, and that's where like, you get all the fire coming out. And the top bit is where the people are.
Yeah.
And often the top bit separates from the bottom bit. So the bottom bit kind of either like floats off into space or can be redirected.
Okay.
So if you look at when they came down, it was just the top pod. I have no idea what happened to the full bottom bit.
I mean, I don't know if you'll know the answer to this, but like, how do they engineer a landing? Like, don't they just...
It's parachute.
Oh, and they can control where it lands?
Not really.
What?
So they'll have a...
They don't have like a steering wheel inside?
No! That's not They'll plan a route. So the route will be planned based on like where they start, and like they like plan a trajectory, which is all done with physics. But actual specific endpoint, you can't really plan that.
Damn.
I mean, you know, on bigger.
Do you know how many minutes they're in space for?
They were in minutes. I mean, they were up there for 10 minutes.
Would they be still at any of that time?
No.
So they basically just went up and then
They literally did an
stopped
arc.
moving.
No, they did an arc. They did that.
Oh my gosh. I think... What? So it's really silly.
You're paying $150,000 on a deposit for a 10-minute flight.
That's insane. And also, okay, so there's not even a moment of just like, wow, we're like, there's no gravity. And, like,
well, I think they reached a
a
no gravity, but at the no gravity, you're still moving.
Yeah,
like very
but
slowly.
Not, okay, so it's like space tourism, but it's more just sort of like whizzing by quickly.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they have plans for like
kind
4
of
hour
like a bungee
flights.
jump. put into space. Do you know what I mean? Because it's so fleeting, really.
I mean, the whole thing is dumb.
That makes me even more annoyed about it, weirdly, because in my head I was like, okay, they're like gonna go up to space, they'll be there for like 20 minutes and they'll be like sort of hovering there and sort of be able to like look at the stars and like gaze out of the window and be like, wow. But no, actually it's just, which is even more of a cop-out.
It is, to be fair, like it is really hard to like plan routes.
Yeah,
so
but like,
I'll have to give it to the engineers and the like scientists who work on the route. But honestly, that's like, who cares who, like, doesn't matter who funds them, they're still going to be doing that same job,
yeah,
you know?
Yeah. Gosh. What do you guys think? Would you go to space? I'm really curious.
Part of me, do you know what? It sounds really bad. Part of me would.
As a space tourist.
No, I think I'd have to go with a purpose.
Yeah. Izzy's going to space, but with a purpose.
Like, if I went as a scientist, I mean, it's obviously, it's really hard to get onto like NASA programs and stuff. That's not easy. Also, I would get really badly seasick because you have to do loads of like physical tests as well.
Oh yeah, I've seen some of those.
That like
spinny things.
Yeah, because you have to go up to like 9 G-force. I mean, I don't even know how to describe that apart from
really,
it's really intense.
Makes your face.
Yeah, exactly. Like imagine going on a roller coaster times like 1 billion. I think.
Yeah.
But if I had a purpose on like a on an actual scientific
basis, yeah,
then I think it'd be like, why not?
Yeah.
But then also it's so much CO2 emissions. For like, I don't. Yeah. Oh.
Well, but that's interesting. Okay, if there weren't CO2 emissions, like if you didn't have to worry about like the environmental aspect of it.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah. Okay, I wouldn't even then.
No, I 100%
It just doesn't appeal to me.
Does it not?
Like
No.
doing that. Like as you said earlier, there's certain places that humans like we shouldn't go, and I just feel like that's one of them.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I'd catch someone into space parasite.
Nothing lives out there, you know. There's no such thing as parasites.
I don't know. I feel like they like one would spawn in just as I get into space.
I'm coming for you, Rosie. It's like, it's really difficult because you know what? When people are arguing, it's really good for feminism and Bunson's coming. Hello. The cat has arrived into the chat.
Yeah, he's arrived.
He's arrived. I do kind of get why they were saying it's good for feminism. you look disgusted at me.
I'm interested though.
I'm going to call it the Barbie analogy.
Ah, okay. I'm already getting
You're already
the
there.
vibe. Yeah.
Like, the Barbie analogy is if you see someone of your race, your... no coffee for you, Mr. Bunsen. What am I saying?
If
Gender,
you see someone who like represents
you know, and you see someone going to space, you think, actually, I can do that too. Like, I want to be an engineer for NASA.
Yeah.
I want to explore space. So I get it in that sense, because I do think it's important for young girls, boys, whoever, people of colour, to see themselves in different spaces.
I actually haven't seen the lineup of everybody else who went up there.
There's a few women of colour, but a lot of them are like famous. So
yeah, which I guess, I don't know, it kind of also sells the image of if you become a famous singer, you can go to space. I hear what you're saying, because I think it is important to see. I mean, STEM is like massively male-dominated industry, so I do hear what you're saying. It's important to see yourself represented.
Like, so like again, like I do think the Barbie analogy works for that,
but I also just think that like
there's better ways to do it.
So many better ways. Like, if you have that much money, like, and you want to be feminist about it, then Katy Perry, you could, instead of going to space, you could use that money to fund kids to like women 100%. To do astronomy degrees.
Your face, you're like, Izzy, I don't know if that's the right thing to say.
Like, to be astronauts.
Start a NASA training program for young girls of colour.
It's just massively hypocritical, right?
Yeah.
You know, you want to be feminist, but okay, why are you destroying the planet where all the women live?
But that's like half of the female celebrities that are doing these things. Yeah. That's exactly what they do.
I find it really annoying. There's one celebrity who, what's she called? The amazing woman from Bridgerton, short blonde hair, from Derry Girls.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, she is amazing.
And she recently,
Yes.
because of all this awful stuff that's happened for the trans community, put like a GoFundMe on her Instagram, and then was matching people's donations up to like 20k or something.
I think as when I last looked at it, she raised 170,000 for the charity.
But a big chunk of that is her. Like, I just thought that is what you do. And she's realistically, from what I understand about how much people actually get paid for these shows, she's probably not earned like that much. Like, probably a lot, but like comparatively to someone like Katy Perry, doesn't even touch the seams, if you know what I mean.
I reckon she earned $1 million or so from Bridgerton, though.
Yeah, I just see, like, for example, I like this TV show called Rain, and the main character of that came out a few years ago and was saying how, like, she'd done, like, 5 seasons of it, but after paying, like, PR people, all of these different things, she, like, didn't make, like, she made good money, but she didn't make, like, a lot.
Billions, yeah. I mean, what's really nice about Nicola, I think, she's a really good example of someone who, like, she speaks up about Gaza as well a lot. I love her. Like, I just love her anyway because she's such an icon. She's obviously done so much in terms of like size diversity as well in the space. But I think that's like, if you're a celebrity, that's what you should be doing.
Put your money where your mouth is.
Do you ever think as an influencer or content creator, whatever you want to call us, that you ever feel that you're going to be seen in that same light? Because it's something I fear is that if, my page grew and I suddenly had 1 million followers, that's not going to happen. But like, if I did, would you be under...
Say it's not going to happen.
I don't know if I'd want 1 million followers.
Yeah,
so,
I think it'd be kind of really horrible.
No. But like, do you ever worry that you'd be under that level of scrutiny?
Yeah, definitely. But I like to think that I could step up to the plate.
Yeah, and actually do good.
Yeah, I like to think that if I switched bodies with someone who's got like millions of Instagram followers and like a lot of money, I like to think that I would do a good job with it. I just can't rationalize having like that much money and not doing something even remotely positive. Another really good person is Millie Bobby Brown. Is that what she's called?
Yeah, is what she's
and
called.
She has like, she rescues loads of dogs and carries like a
dog chip tag
thing. To check for strays.
I know you watched the Vogue What's in My Bag. That's how you knew about that, isn't it?
But I just think that's another amazing example of like, she's got her money, she might not be like doing something for every single cause, but she's picked something. And it's the same thing we talk about often, which is like, we can't save the entire world, but we can sort of look after our one plot of land and do the work there.
Yeah.
And I really like it when people do that, because maybe she's not doing something for everybody, but she's focused on her cause and she's pouring energy into it.
I will say though, that's something that I think that's amazing that she's done that, but she owns a clothing brand.
Oh, I don't know much about her.
She owns a clothing brand and it's not sustainable, so I find that really difficult because
she owns a clothing brand.
Yeah, and does like pajamas and stuff. But as far as I know, it's not sustainable or ethical, and that makes me sad because she chose to start that brand and she could have chosen to start that brand with a positive purpose.
Yeah, and also we don't need another brand.
No, do you know what? I get it if you're a celebrity, start a brand, but if you're going to do it, do something different, do something that's like positive at least, or trying to make a change.
Yeah, I agree. I can't think of really any celebrities who've done that. Just, I guess, do you think it's a certain type of person who becomes a celebrity? Someone who's like got not really much empathy and like, like someone who leans more to like having narcissistic kind of tendencies becomes famous, and so that's why often a lot of these celebrities like do awful things but also like don't care to give back. Do you think it's because people who are like more empathetic can't step on enough people to reach that level of wealth and fame?
To be fair, yeah, I've never really thought about it like that.
No, nor had I. Yeah,
maybe because you think about like the Kardashians, they don't give a damn about anyone. No. But they're billionaires, well, probably millionaires.
Yeah.
There's one celebrity that I think of that I loved as a child, Carly Kloss. She is a supermodel from like the 2010 era of Victoria's Secret, which is obviously bad, but she basically comes from like a small town. Like I think she's from the Midwest. She used to bring like cookies and bake stuff for all her shoots and like be really like apparently really friendly. But she started a coding academy for girls.
Oh my god, that's so cool. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, so she basically, because like women in tech, especially now still, there aren't that many women in tech, and she learned to code. And she started this thing called Code with Clossy, which is like an academy for young girls to learn to code and do boot camps. I think that's amazing. Like, I think that's incredible. That's using like the money she earned from being a Victoria's Secret model, her fame, all of that stuff, to help girls get to the right place,
Yeah.
which is what Katy Perry could have done with the space money.
Yeah, instead of sort of rapping, because you know what, I'd actually respect Careful of His Tail. I'd actually respect Katy Perry more if she didn't wrap it up in some sort of Earth Mother loving, thing, and instead she was just like, I wanted to go to space really badly, so I did. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'd respect that more if she was like, I've always wanted to go to space, like, I know, do you know what I mean? And was just frivolous about it, because that's what it is, so don't wrap it up. Because there's also an interview of her being like, I've always liked astrology and astronomy and science, and like sort of spouting nonsense, trying to give it some sort of
backbone.
Yeah.
I mean, the best quote she came up with was, "We need to save Mother Earth, so go to space."
And also, it took you a trip to space to look down on the Earth to realise that. Damn!
It's just like, look at our little planet and go, oh, we need to save you.
No.
I
don't know if you've ever seen any of those memes, but there's like a memes going around of like men being like, wow, I realised that other people have like lives separate from my own, and I'm like not the only person to exist. And it's like, yeah, most women realise this when they're like 8. And like, I feel like that's Katy Perry. It's like, we all know we need to save Mother Earth, but it took her going to space to realise that. Like, get a grip.
And when she kissed the ground, that was a sight to behold.
I didn't realise she was like crazy. This has made me think that she's actually kind of a little bit like not there. Like, I actually thought of Katy Perry as being like quite a grounded, like sort of normie celebrity.
I was going to say something really controversial, but I'm not.
Because she's with Orlando Bloom.
She was with Russell Brand, who we all know is...
so true.
Who we all know is...
Yeah, really, really shit. That makes so much sense.
But I'm not going to say that because I don't know obviously we don't know what their relationship was like. We don't know if he coerced her into all sorts of marriage and stuff like that. So I'm not going to say anything, like, I'm not going to
comment on it,
but
yeah,
I'm just going to leave that there.
Yeah. Throw that into the air. It's true though. I've always liked Orlando Bloom though.
That's just because he looks really great.
I know, but I don't know. But are they still together even?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because he lost his poodle a few years ago. I remember that.
Why do you know that?
I don't know. I just do.
Celebrity news. Oh my god. Okay, so I want to go back to talk about this spaceship because the amount of CO2 emissions that this silly 10-minute flight emitted is mad. And when I was doing some research, apparently this particular engine that they used didn't emit any carbon emissions.
That's crazy. So it was actually okay for the planet?
Kind of yes and no. Like, that was obviously really good, and it released essentially steam. But what people forget is that steam is a greenhouse gas. Because it's hot. It's like literally heating up the atmosphere. And also, so the engine was made with liquid oxygen and hydrogen, which is really energy intensive to make into a liquid. Has to be like really cold, like minus kind of like 100, I think, ish. I don't know the actual details there, but and also to actually make hydrogen and oxygen on their own is a really, really intensive chemical reaction called hydrolysis. So that goes back to, like, they probably use fossil fuels to make it in the first place.
So even though maybe they didn't release CO2 when actually taking off, to get all the chemicals to do the takeoff without releasing any, might have just been just as bad anyway. Yeah,
exactly. Because they would have used water to make oxygen and hydrogen. Obviously, water's a really needed substance.
That's so interesting. So it's kind of, that's so interesting. I guess if you don't understand it, because if I read, I mean, I think I'd still just be like, why are you going to space? But like, that's easy for people to then think, oh, okay, it's fine. Like, it's... I
think it's like a high level greenwashing.
That's what I was going to say, but I wasn't sure if it seems so intense. But it is, you're right.
Because I think there's greenwashing on all levels though, right?
Yeah.
You know, there's probably greenwashing in science as well.
Yeah. I mean, this is greenwashing, pinkwashing. Is that what you call it with women?
Yeah. Pinkwashing. I mean, Celebrities are weird.
It's really, really, really bizarre. I just like, you know, everyone says eat the rich and things like that, and it's getting to the point where like I feel like, you know, the French, sorry, you know, the French Revolution with Marie Antoinette and everything like that. I feel like we're verging on there.
Is Marie Antoinette basically Jeff Bezos?
Yeah. I love that. That's one of my favourite things you've ever said.
I mean, she kind of was.
Yeah.
She basically didn't give us stuff. It was just invest in the wigs.
The difference was, though, that she was like a child, basically, when she first came into power. She's like 16.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of women, though, in that time were
whereas
forced.
Jeff Bezos is, what, like a 50-year-old bald man?
He reminds me of Pitbull.
Don't do Pitbull like that.
Can you see what I mean?
I do see what you mean. Yeah.
Like, if you went to a Pitbull concert and Jeff Bezos went on the stage, you wouldn't know the difference.
No, except for isn't Jeff Bezos just really like... Oh no, that's Mark Zuckerberg.
That's
He's
Mark
just
Zuckerberg.
really...
The picture I saw of Jeff Bezos with the gals after the rocket looked pretty happy, to be fair.
Yeah, there's a video of him like stumbling and slightly falling outside the rocket, and it's really...
I have not seen that.
I was like, full trip.
You fool.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just really bad. Like, it concerns me that celebrities are getting to a point where they think it's like socially acceptable for them to like do such displays of wealth so publicly.
Is it more them, or is it the people who create the opportunities? Is it the Jeff Bezos, the Elon Musk, all these like billionaires who are creating the opportunity to do these things? Are they the problem? Like, are they the core issue? Like, are they...
Yeah, I guess they all are. I don't know, it's just, I feel like I've been reading The Handmaid's Tale, and like, I think probably it's really shifted my way of thinking currently, because I'm like deep into the book, I'm nearly done, and like, it's just made me like view the world differently.
I don't know how you're reading that, I think I'd cry.
It's a really good book.
It's a classic, right?
Yeah. And I've watched it as well, and I'd say it's an easier read than a watch.
Okay.
It's like more sad to read, but less like traumatizing to read in a sense.
The watch, I mean, I've seen the trailer. I couldn't. It's there's every like flag there is there, you know.
Yeah, but like reading it just makes me. We're just at a very weird point. Like, there's so many things, like, because when it was written, she does say that nothing in it is made up. It's all things that have like happened at some point in history somewhere in the world. So nothing's fake.
Obviously, it's a fiction with
drawing from real moments in history.
Yeah.
But like just the way they're talking about like there's a point where things change massively politically, similar to what we've had recently, and she's saying like no one did anything, like we all just sort of thought it would be fine, and like it kind of makes me feel a bit similar to like right now. It's like some really bad things are happening, and like we're not really like doing anything.
But then I think it's really difficult because we are, like, as individuals, we could all be doing something. But it's just that collective fear of what would happen to you if you stood up, like, outside Parliament or wherever. Like, you stood up openly. Like, are you going to get...
Yeah, what happens?
What happens? Because that is terrifying.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's just... I think, to be honest, there'll be people out there who would say it's a feminist thing, right? All these women go to space. So I feel like they picked their battle. And for them, this was not the battle to pick, because to some it is viewed as a feminist thing for women to go to like a full set of women going into space. That's only ever happened once before in history, with a full team of female astronauts.
What, going into space?
Yeah.
See, I didn't even know that. They could have just made more of a deal of that, and that would have been satisfactory for me.
Yeah, it was like, I think it was in the early days of space travel.
Wow.
I might have actually just been a solo female astronaut. I need to double check that. But test groups and stuff, they've just kind of probably picked their astronaut and gone, actually, this is not the one. Because of that. Because if they did it, people would be like, oh, but, you know, what about all the women who've gone to space? Blah, 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 blah. Instead of that, just like, why don't more people just like watch inspirational films to get their children to go into space if they want to?
There's that really good film about
Hidden Figures.
Yes.
That film makes you cry.
Yeah.
That film makes me cry. If you haven't watched that film, please watch it. It's incredible. It's about 3 black women who worked for NASA, who are all real women.
Yeah, it's a true story, isn't it?
It's based on a true story. I don't know if they all worked at the same time and were like friends.
Yeah.
But they all were, like, they were an engineer, they were a mathematician, they were like,
So
it's
cool.
that film genuinely, I just sit there and cry. So good. But like, just do that. You don't need to see like Katy Perry going to space.
Gosh.
How do you think people should act, and what can people do now that it's quite like, it is quite doomful? Like this, as you said, like this particular event of space travel has come at quite like a doomful point.
It just feels very like what's the word, like Black Mirror-y.
Yeah,
like,
new episodes of that have just been released.
Yeah, it just feels like really Black Mirror-y, and it feels like in, you know, hundreds and hundreds of years into the future, if humans are still alive, like it's something we'd look back at and be like, yeah, when like that generation of humans were in a really bad climate situation and really suffering, like they just like went to space. Do you know what I mean? Like to me it feels like a very prominent historical marker of like that like wider human failure. And not to be depressing.
But how do people not feel depressed though? I feel like you're in a very depressive state.
Line it up a bit. I don't know. I mean, I signed up to do a walk in the forest with like that. It's like a night. It's like an hour-long hike that ends with a picnic and then collective screaming. And I was like, that sounds wild, kind of weird.
When did you sign up for this?
This morning. I thought that sounds nice, and I think things like that, like a kind of that makes me feel joyful and like good, because it's like being in nature, being with people who also care about nature, and then like connecting and having like that picnic, and then letting out all of the, because I do personally feel that in this time I do get depressed, but I also get angry, but it becomes very pent up inside. Like I have a lot of like climate anger, climate anxiety, all of this, and it goes very inward. And I think sometimes you do need like dancing, do you know what I mean? Moments to just release it all in a safe way.
I'm picturing you yelling at a tree. The cat is moving along.
He never really sits on your lap during these episodes.
Yeah, it's because he only sits on people's lap he doesn't see every day. Look at this, he's so settled in. Yeah, I think like being surrounded by people who get it, also sitting with your anxiety, anger and like sadness and all those feelings, and like it's okay to have them, like they're all valid feelings. But I think it's important to pull yourself out of it after a while, not to wallow in it and become too depressed, because it's very easy to do. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really get climate anxious anymore. Oh my god, I don't get like angry. I get angry, but I don't know if it's about I guess it's about climate change, but I guess it's more just about like small things that to me feel like, sorry guys, it's depressing. That make me feel like we're in a really negative space. Like I feel very angry about this. I feel very angry about like this new legislation around trans lives. I feel like angry about lots of small things that to me all actually sum up like this one collective issue of people not caring about each other and the planet. Exactly. So it's a simple issue actually. Yeah. And I think I've maybe sort of transitioning from being sad into feeling annoyed about it. Well, fear often masks like fear. Sorry. Anger masks fear. Yes, anger masks fear. And I guess, I am fearful. I'm actually very fearful. See, like, get annoyed and upset when these things happen. I'm like, for God's sake, like, not this again. Like, seriously? But I always think we have to keep moving, because we have to keep moving to make the change. And I've got to a point now where I just, like, I can't control what the government say and do. As in, like, directly. No, you're right. I mean, even indirectly, like, we've just been seeing time and time again that we haven't really got any power. I don't think there's any point in time where people actually truly did. You know, they're either, like, they're still out protesting, but then there's a revolution. Do you know, like, historically speaking? I think the government has always had the final say, and the only thing that I feel I can do is I can't control what the government or what the weirdos of this world decide to do. But what I can do is go and, like, support the right people, support the right groups, and take... you know, do the small things that I can choose. Yeah. You know, like shouting about trans lives, shouting about Gaza, obviously making sure that people aren't anti-Semitic in the process of doing that, all of those things, and like making the decision to be those things. Yeah. Because actually then I'm helping thy neighbour.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, in the
yeah.
process. And I think that's like kind of all we can do. Like, I
Yeah.
feel so, like, don't get me wrong, I do feel so sad for the world at the moment. But I also think we need to have that positivity to keep going, to lift each other up, to keep the fight going.
I'm worried, guys. I'm worried. I know we all care, but like.
I thought we should end this episode on a positive though.
Yeah, guys. Okay, I'm happy. The world is good, and like, and although things can be like scary and dark sometimes, I like feel so grateful to have this space, to have Izzy, to have like this. To have Bunts and to like talk about these things and to like work through them, and I think it's really important.
I think keep your support network close.
Yeah.
Go hug some trees. Go hug some people who need a hug.
Yeah, and I hope that like this can be a support network in itself.
Yes, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. The Spill the Sustainability community is always here. Yeah.
On that note.
Bye. Thank you for listening to this week's episode.
If you want to see more from us, you can follow us on socials at Rosie and Izzy Manuel.